Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Got 10 games in the NBA here on Friday. Really good night on Thursday. So I want to run through the record with you guys and give you an opportunity to get into the VIP with a little bit of a discount for a few of you. Got a limited number of those offers for you. Also want to run through the bets that I have for Friday. Got a lot on the card already here. 8 games that we have prop lines for. So I did thorough research on those 8 games, found a lot of looks in most of those games here. And then obviously we'll come back with the rest of the games on the live show, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday, as we do every weekday. So hope to see you guys there. But for now, go ahead and give this video a like. Let's get right into it. Really nice night on Thursday after a brutal Wednesday night. When I put out the episode on Wednesday there, didn't have all the bets done yet on the night. Ended up being really bad. 3-8 there, lost 5 units. Came back here, won it back. The swings of the NBA season, but felt really good about tonight's slate. Put a full unit down on everything here. Jose Alvarado, just to go through the first look here, really nice under. Ended at 20, but the look was that with Zion and everybody that was out there, he's at about 16 per game. So he had a nice game against a very bad Suns defense, but because the minutes weren't going to be there like we knew, he went under. Interesting thing is I'm going to be going over on Jose Alvarado here in their game as these two teams face off again on Friday night, just a little back-to-back, one after the other against the same squad. And there's no way Zion's playing on the second night of a back-to-back. That's when Jose Alvarado does his thing big time. So if he's got like 20 to 22.5 PRA available once again, we're going right back to an over this time for Alvarado. For Wendell Carter Jr., maybe should have laddered it, but loved the rebound number at 7.5. I had him projected for 10 in 29 minutes. He got 14 in 27 minutes. And they lost that game to the Dubs, who came back because Steph Curry did Steph Curry shit. 56 points for the man on a really ridiculous night of shooting for him once again. Carried them, but Wendell Carter Jr., great to take athletic centers against the Dubs, especially guys that can't get run off the floor by small ball. And Wendell Carter Jr. is versatile enough as a center that he's going to play small ball, stay in the game against small ball fives the way he did against the Dubs. So love that bet there. Brolo, don't ever talk shit on my man Brook Lopez. Loved him in this game. Got the 22 points to get us there. I thought he might get 5 boards. He only got 3, but the points carried us well over. So we'll continue to take him in good scenarios because he's having an incredible season and still is getting undervalued. Miles Bridges soared over 11.5 rebounds and assists. And whenever he's playing without LaMelo Ball and with Mark Williams, he is primed. He's at 16 rebounds and assists per 36 minutes when he's playing without those guys, without LaMelo and with Mark Will. So we'll keep going back to Miles Bridges on the RA when he's playing without LaMelo. Booker, 30 plus points. Very proud of this bet here that cashed at plus 130 because he has been diming up. But as soon as Brad Beal was ruled out, knew that it was going to be a great play on the points for him against a horrible Pelicans defense that, yes, they're bad against catch and shoot. So you might think more assists for a guy like Booker against the catch and shoot defense. But when Beal's not out there, it's him and it's KD. And Booker is going to find his shot. He's averaging about 23 shots per game when he's playing without Brad Beal this season. So as soon as Brad Beal was ruled out, we were on Booker for the points, and we bypassed the 27.5, went right to the plus money there for plus 30. So love that one. Yves Missy cashes his boards against a bad Phoenix front court. Knew that was going to be a really good look against Nick Richards and company. So he cashes with 9 boards in that one. And then Dame, he just shot like crap, honestly. I mean, I still would go back to that play. I projected him to have about 27 points in this game in about 36 to 38 minutes, and it ended up getting slowed down at the tempo of the game at the end, and he just shot poorly, and other guys did not. So we'll eat that one there for Dame, but really happy with 6-1, 53.7 units that were up on the season. So I want to give you guys, 5 of you, an opportunity to get into the VIP for 40% off your first month. Use code 6and1, spelling out the and there, and that'll get you the free month of VIP access, where you are going to get a lot more than just the picks. We've got some great expert analysis coming in for myself and a lot of the other guest cappers that are in there who are not only providing their picks and transparent records, I should say, they're also helping out in the chat. That's one of the most sort of vital parts of the whole Discord that I'm really proud of, is the VIP chat, where it's a lot more conversation than just like, hey, this guy's done well recently, so we should bet on him. It's a lot more of, why should I bet on him in this matchup? Or why is this number very beatable? Maybe he's had numbers, his numbers recently have been, his prop lines have been really low, and now we're seeing a high one, so this is a good under. There's a lot better angles going on in the VIP chat than just recent numbers and matchup, right? So really excited to be able to share more of that with you guys. 40% off using code 6and1 for those of you interested in jumping in. So hope to see you guys there. But for now, let's get into what we've got here for this packed Friday slate. As always, going to be using Props Madness here on the show, the #1 sports betting research tool, especially for hoops here in the NBA and the WNBA. It truly is a one-stop shop for everything you need when it comes to advanced filters to help you recreate the same situation that you've seen here, way more advanced than you're going to see on any other platform. Plus, when you scroll down, you've got season shot charts, seeing where guys are scoring their points and where the team that they're going up against is good or bad, limiting those points. You've also got play type analysis. How many points per game does this guy score off of this play type? And how good is this defense at limiting that play type? Cannot promote this anymore and really recommend it. If you do want to use this, you can get a 7-day free trial using code LYB. Test it out and see if you like it, or you can get 25% off your first month using that code as well. First game of the night is these Nuggets and Pistons. We don't yet have an injury report for the Nuggets because they just lost to the Bucks, and they're now going to play their second game in 2 nights here on a back-to-back against the surging Pistons. Now 8 in a row for these boys. And what we're looking at here, first things first, man, there's no way this is going to be here tomorrow, but also Thompson's at 2.5 assists, and he's at 3.5 rebounds, giving him a 6.5 rebound prop, an assist combined prop here. I would play this up to 7.5 against a pretty weak transition and otherwise defense for this Denver Nuggets team. Like, just weak all around. Not going to have a guy that I would like in this matchup against him. I guess maybe Christian Brown. We might not even see Aaron Gordon or Jamal Murray here would be my guess on the second night of a back-to-back. So All-Star Thompson is going to have a great opportunity. He's averaging 7.2 on the season. And if you give him where he's now up to almost like 30 minutes, like I think you put his floor at 25 minutes on this season, he's at 9.2 rebounds and assists per game in this situation. This is pretty much an incorrectly placed line. It opened at 5.5 because the dimes opened up at 1.5 on most books here, up to 2.5 in some places, still 1.5 on Bet365, but there's no way this is going to be 1.5 by tomorrow. So I am expecting the RA to be closer to 7.5 by the time this game tips off. If you get 6.5, I mean, that's a slam. If I get 7.5, I'm still playing this. So this is very, very good. Up to about 7.5, even like minus 120 on the 7.5. This is a great number here for All-Star Thompson. So we'll take him on the over on the rebounds and assists. The other look that's just incorrectly placed is 25.5 points for Nikola Jokic, who's going to be going up against Jalen Duren, which means Jalen Duren's probably going to have 3 fouls with, in the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, I can easily see the 8-minute mark coming up here, and Jalen Duren is on the bench with 2 fouls in the first quarter. I think we can all see it. It's basically what happened last game. If you look at the head-to-head here, 37 points in that last game in 37 minutes. Just took everybody to school. Went to the free throw line 14 times in that game. And the only guy missing in that one was Aaron Gordon. Might be missing him again in this one, but we're going to have pretty much a full Denver squad who, especially after losing to Milwaukee, is probably going to want to put another win together on their card here against Detroit. But it's the same thing that we saw tonight from Jokic, who scored 32 points in this game against Brolo. They don't have it up yet, but it'll be here tomorrow on the chart here. Against Brolo, 32 points, and I think they're going to see the same thing. They're not going to double him. They don't double. Neither of these teams, like the Detroit Pistons, do not double. It's a reason why you see them give up a ton of points to pick and roll players, but they don't give up points to spot up guys, right? They don't give up points to the pick and roll, or they give up a ton of points rather to the pick and roll ball handler because they're not double teaming that person. And they're not really double teaming Jokic in the post. They're going to let him go with Jalen Duren, and Jalen Duren is not a guy I'd be going over on in this one. I'd probably go under on the boards because he's going to be getting into foul trouble, and then you've got Beef Stew coming in, giving up about 7 inches or whatever, 6 inches to Jokic in terms of height there. So love Jokic to just get the points here, especially on the road in these games where he's playing. You can see like he's got a really, really nice hit rate here on the road as well. 13 of his last 22 that he's gone over 25.5. So I think this number is playable to like 27.5, honestly. And Jokic should be in line for close to 30 once again against the Pistons. Scrolling down to Cavs and Celtics, game of the night for sure. Now, we should know Jaylen Brown is still questionable with a hip contusion. He got knocked real hard by someone's knee twice, actually, in this Toronto game. So he's questionable. And then you got Drew Holiday questionable as well in this one. So is Luke Cornett. But most importantly, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, both questionable. So a couple things to consider here in this game that I'm only looking at regardless. Like I think these bets that I'm talking about right now, starting with Kristaps, are bettable regardless of whether or not Jaylen Brown and or Drew Holiday play. So that's why I'm making the bets right now that I am for this game, especially for the Celtics. And first of all, you know where I'm going. It's points in the first quarter for Kristaps. And after 4 points against the Pistons in their last game, still played 8 minutes in the first quarter and still had 4 points. And now we still get 4.5. And I've been telling you all that when this is under 6 at 5.5, 4.5, just cover your eyes and bet the over and don't worry about anything else, because this man is at an incredible hit rate in the first quarter. We'll start there, averaging 6.5 on the season, 7.3 basically in the last 20 bunch of games. But let's put this since the last time they played the Nuggets here, because that was when he came back from injury and then started playing his full minutes. In these last 19 games since coming back from injury and getting back up to full minutes, he's at 7.8 first quarter points per game. And what I always look for when I'm taking a first quarter points bet is how many minutes is he getting in the first quarter? That would be 8.4 per game over the last 19. That's great. And how many field goal attempts? 4.8 field goal attempts per game over the last 19 in the first quarter for him. That's great. 5 shots for him. 2 of them are threes per game as well. You can look at the first quarter 3-point attempts, 2.2 per game that he's averaging in this time frame as well. So two shots from 3. He's also getting 2 free throw attempts per game in the first quarter. This is a wagon for a reason. So anything under 6.5 is going to be an over. Up to like minus 140, I don't care. We're going to keep playing this for Kristaps with such a high usage in the first quarter. And if Jaylen Brown and or Drew Holiday are not in there, especially Jaylen Brown, it's just going to be more shots in the first quarter for KP. Next, I've got a couple under bets here in this game, and they're dependent. So let me go to Derek White, because his assists under 4.5 is highly dependent on Jaylen Brown playing. If Jaylen Brown plays, then Derek White just doesn't have the opportunity to have the ball in his hands quite enough to get the dimes. So if you filter this so that you say games for Derek White with Jaylen Brown, look at how his assists drop. He goes down to 3.7 assists per game on the season, whereas when he's playing without Jaylen Brown, he's up at 4.4 assists per game on the season. So I'm not really down to go over on Derek White assists regardless in this situation. But if Jaylen Brown is in, then we're going under on his assists for sure. That 3.7 number on the season as well. Let's get this to the full amount of games he's played. He's played 47 games with Jaylen Brown, under in 30 of 47 on this 4.5 number. You're getting plus money right now on some spots. I don't know if it'll stay at 4.5. I think we'll still be able to get 4.5 tomorrow, especially because Jaylen Brown's still questionable. And this is going to be an under on the dimes for me against a good Cavs defense. Same holds true for the other side of the ball here for Darius Garland and his dimes. So it's 6.5 right now. Gonna be, hopefully, it's gonna be close. So we might start to see some 5.5s, but I like the under on 6.5 assists for Darius Garland in this game. You know, the Celtics are good at limiting assists, third best, limiting those dimes. They don't double team. And the thing that I like about this is fading recent results, which we talk about. 7 assists in their first matchup, 8 assists in their second, and then just 3 in the last matchup there when they lost by 7 to the Celtics. In the first matchup, he had 8 potential assists to get 7. That is not normal, right? Normally, you expect a guy to get 50 to 55% of his potential assists turning into assists. Well, 8 potential assists, 7 dimes. That's an outlier. The next one was even more of an outlier, an 100% assist rate on his potential assists, 8 dimes on 8 potentials. Just not going to happen, right? Just not something that you expect to happen consistently. This is a lot more likely. 9 potential assists in the last game with 3 total assists. And that's what I think we're going to get once again. Now, the key here is that Kristaps is in, and he has no even probable tag. Like, he's not on the injury report at all. So we should depend on him being in. If you look at this assist chart, which is, I've shown you this before, but it's such an amazing feature on Props Madness. If you have a guy's assists selected and you scroll down to where this would normally be his shot chart, well, now it's an assist chart. So you can see where on the floor Darius Garland is getting his assists, the percentage of those dimes, and how good the Celtics are at limiting assists in that area. So he's getting nearly half of his assists down low at the rim. With Kristaps out there, they are the 4th best rim defense in the league, right? The other place, the other quarter of his assists is coming here up top against the 3-point shot, and that is where the Celtics are also really, really good. They're about the 4th best defense limiting assists above the break against threes, because once again, they don't leave the shooters. Nobody's coming off their man to double team. They let the ball handler go one-on-one with that defender. Probably going to be Drew Holiday or Derek White on Darius Garland, switching between he and Donnie Mitchell. So yeah, this is going to be a bad matchup for assists. Love the under for him at 6.5. Hopefully we can still get this here on Friday. As we jump into Thunder at Hawks in Atlanta here, go ahead and give this video a like if you're getting anything out of it. It goes a really long way to help the channel and support things, so much appreciated there. First look for this one's got to be an under for the point guard going against the OKC Thunder. If you look at Trae Young, it's another bad matchup. He just had 11 against the Heat and 17 against the Heat in those back-to-back games. Now, We are going to see Alex Caruso out in this game. He's not going to play. It's just a rest thing. But I do like the under for Trae in a game that might not be a total blowout the way that the Thunder are kind of resting guys a little bit more, it seems. And we'll talk about that more in a second. But I think Trae Young, you could take this under down to like 22.5. Honestly, 25.5 is crazy. It was 26.5 in some other spots. If this gets back up to 26.5, it's an auto bet. I'm going to bet it at 25.5 if that's still available in the morning, which, as I've spoken to you guys about before, not betting bets overnight, as it's a very good way to get dinged and get limited and how much you can bet with these books. So keep that in mind. But the 25.5, I'll be going under tomorrow. Obviously, this is a team that is incredible against the pick and roll ball handler. They're incredible, limiting points up top, second best against above the break shots, and third best limiting points to the pick and roll ball handler, the primary ball handler usually, which is always Trae Young, as we know. They do foul a good amount, but I will say their defense down low is going to continue to only get better. Third best limiting shots right next to the paint, right next to the basket, and ninth best limiting shots in the paint extended. And I mean, this is where Trae wants to shoot from, is either above the break or right next to the basket. There's a reason that over the course of his last 5 against this team, he's only gone over 1 time. And in that game, that was 2 years ago now. And there was guys like Josh Giddey and there was no Alex Caruso. There was no Kayson Wallace. There was a lot less defense on the perimeter for this Thunder squad than they have now. Ton of guys to throw at Trae. If anything, maybe he'll get the dimes, but I think even just PRA under at like 39.5, I just think that's absurd to expect him to get more than his season average against the best defense or a top 3 defense in the league for OKC. So under on 25.5 points is good all the way down to 22.5. Under 39.5 PRA, I think is good all the way down to 37.5. What I was mentioning about the rotations here and them giving rest to guys, I think this is another situation just like we saw in this last game against Brooklyn, where OKC, I mean, they played Shai 34 minutes in that game, and normally he plays about 36, 37 in games that they care at all. He was out down the stretch in that game. He came back up for a little bit, but even when they were losing, he was still off the court, and because I just don't think they care about playing him too many minutes as they're coming down, getting into the playoff run here that they're going to be in 25 games before the playoffs start. So I think guys like Aaron Wiggins, his props got too high. They opened at 12.5. If you can still get a 12.5, great. But 14.5, even 13.5 is getting a little bit out of control for him. I do think he's going to be at another about 26 to 28 minutes. And when he plays 20, let's say he plays about 26, let's give him a floor of 25 and a ceiling of 28. But when you can guarantee that he's going to be getting a few more minutes because guys like Caruso aren't in there, then I think you're looking at a pretty good number here. 14.4. If you give him 25 to 30 exactly, 14.4 on the season. Not the best hit rate. Atlanta's a bad defense, so maybe you give him a little bit of a bump. But what I'm saying here is I think this is another sort of like blowout style game that we should bank on. The Thunder giving more minutes to backups like Wiggins, like Isaiah Joe, like Kayson Wallace, and that we should be a little bit worried about too many overs for starters like Shai Gilgeous in this one. And perhaps I would say Chet, but I actually don't know how many minutes Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be getting here. He's still hurt, only played 25 in the last one. So the minutes are a little bit weird. I haven't got a bet down for the Thunder. Love the under for Trae all over the place. But as far as the Thunder goes, I'm going to wait till tomorrow to make an actual bet on this one. But we'll be leaning strongly into the backups having a lot more minutes than we normally would give them. Too much unknown in this Portland and Nets game here in Brooklyn. With we've got Denny Avdia and Jeremy Grant both questionable. So I just don't really know what to do with it. But I would say that if both of them are out, Toumani Camara, points, rebounds, and assists. Without Denny Avdia and without Jeremy Grant, I think we're looking at another full 38 minutes for this guy. If you say Toumani is going to play anywhere from like 35 to 38, let's say even 34 to 38 minutes in those games on the season, if you look at the PRA, up at about 21.5. So I think if we get this at 19.5 still in the morning, this is going to be an over for me on Toumani in a situation where it's right for him. I mean, you're going to have Nick Claxton banging with guys like Donovan Clingan, who's probably another good play as well. If both Jeremy Grant and Avdia are out, you can kind of see the trend here. But a guy like Toumani Camara against the Nets, athletic, can't be run off the floor with any kind of small ball. This is going to be a dude who I think is going to feast here against a bad Brooklyn Nets team right now. Couple looks from this Toronto and Chicago game that I've got. Mostly, I do want to talk about Jakob Poeltl. That's my favorite play. I'm not sure why we're getting 10.5 points. We should mention injuries for this game. Scotty Barnes is questionable. Vooch is also questionable. Those are going to be two really big, obviously questionable tags that we need. And then Ayo Dosunmu for the Bulls is also questionable, so we need to know if he's playing. But we're not going to see Nikola Vucevic in here, which means another Zach Collins game. And boy, was I dead ass wrong going under with Zach Collins in the last one. But going to stay away from him. Giddey stuff has gotten ridiculously high. His rebounds and assists are at 16.5 in some places. 17.5 on ESPN Bet. So they're getting out of control. But what I like here is on the Jakob Poeltl for on the Toronto side. 10.5 points for a guy averaging 14 on the season is just absolutely crazy. This is a Bulls team that is in the bottom 5, giving up points to centers. They give up the most points per game inside the 5 feet at the rim. 63% of Jakob Poeltl's points are coming at the rim. He's been averaging on the season. He's at like 30 minutes per game, averaging about 10 to 12 shots per game. And he's been a focal point of the offense when he's out there. So the board's probably still good. I mean, 8.5 is a really low number if you expect him to play another 28 minutes. But if you give him even like 26, let's give him 26 to 30 minutes on the season, which is a very, very, very conservative number considering he's averaging 31. Like he said, 9.3 boards in these situations. We gets at least 26 minutes, like which once again is a low conservative number for him. And as far as the points go, up at 11.1. So I think 10.5 is crazy. This should still be available. I don't think we're going to see too many overs. There's not too much going on with the Jakob Poeltl bet. So we should have this available to us here on Friday as well. All right, skipping all the way down here to Knicks and Grizzlies. This is going to be a fun game, but we do have Cat questionable. We also have Josh Hart questionable. I think they're both going to be a go in this game. Cat obviously sat, and he would be the one that's more likely to miss against this Grizzlies squad. As far as the Grizz go, they're pretty much healthy other than Desmond Bane. So Desmond Bane is the questionable tag for Memphis. And on New York side, it's Cat, it's Josh Hart, both questionable. I expect Hart to play. I do think Cat plays, but he is the one that seems to have a more legit injury. The other interesting thing is Mitchell Robinson is questionable to play and is starting to become available potentially for his first games back on the season. So how am I going to play this game? First thing I like here is if we get this at 28.5 where it's been, looks like it got bet down already for Brunson. But if we have 28.5 points for Brunson against this defense, I got to go under against the Memphis Grizzlies. They're just going to try to force the ball out of his hands consistently. And that's a really big reason why they're so good against the primary ball handler. So they are giving up the 11th most, 12th most points to pick and roll ball handlers, which is a little bit misleading to me because if you look at them against primary ball handlers, they're forcing the ball out of the hands of the primary ball handler more than they're not, right? And that's why they're actually in the top 5, limiting points per game to the point guard position, right? And although they are giving up a lot of points above the break, you can see here, 5th most points above the break. And Brunson, we know, is going to shoot a lot above the break here. 29% of his points come from above the break threes. Like, this is not because the guys are pulling up and shooting, which is what Brunson does. Guys are getting spot up shots. You can see they are 22nd limiting spot up points because guys like Brunson are passing to the wing, which is still above the break right here, as you can see. And that's where those catch and shoot shots are coming from against this Memphis Grizzlies defense. So that's a big reason why you saw in their last game, Mikal Bridges go off, right? So I like Mikal Bridges' points a lot more in this game than I do Brunson. I like the under on Brunson. If we can get this back up to 28.5, I'm going to be going under, but I'll revisiting this here on the live show at 5:30 p.m. on Friday. But the look here is going to be an under for Brunson points, an over for Mikal Bridges points. And if Cat is out there, I'm going over on his points as well. In their matchup last game, he had 24, shot 9 for 17, but they won by 37. So he played 33 minutes. When on the season, he's averaging, he's averaging 35.5, right? So he did get taken out for a few more minutes. They didn't have to do as much, and Mikal Bridges was going crazy in that game. So that led to him getting the over. But 24.5 points is definitely an over for me on Cat. I think he's going to be doing a good amount of catch and shoot as well. He had 2 threes in their last game. No value for me on 1.5 at -160. But I do think Cat's going to get at least about 4 to 5 looks from 3, which would be good for 1 or 2 in this game. And that's going to help him get over. They also foul a ton to the Grizzlies here. They are, 27th in terms of giving up free throw points to the opponent. And we know Cat scoring 16% of his points, as you can see here, off of free throws. So love Cat to score in this game. Really think he's going to have a big one scoring. Love Mikal Bridges to score as their top spot up shooter alongside Cat. And then like an under on the points here for our boy Jalen Brunson. All right, got the live show set for 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday. As we always do, you bring your bets, jump in the comments, and we use some props madness to review that stuff together and see if we can't find some winners. If you do want to jump into the VIP, remember 40% off for your first month. Use code 6 and 1, and that'll get you in there to access to me and the VIP cappers and those one-on-one sports betting consultations to help you guys get a little bit better at this betting stuff and trim some of those bad habits. But hope to see you on the live tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Until I do, happy betting.